Hello and welcome back to the workbench. Finally I'm starting to look at assembling my white metal kits that I got back in May for my birthday. Apologise for the delay in producing videos recently. There's been a number of things going on that have taken my attention away from YouTube, but I'm now back. So let's have a look what we've got. There's the little white metal horse. And one of the first jobs that I've got to do is cleaning up the castings, trying to get the camera to focus there, and removing the various moulding sprues. So you can see that one there in the centre there, and very fine there. I hope the camera's picking it up. Little bits that need trimming off with the scalpel. And then I think I might put everything into my ultrasonic bath and give it a really good clean so that we can produce something hopefully looking rather like this. I will be soldering and not using glue. I've got my low melting point solder. I found out the temperature at which white metal does melt, and I've got a suitable controllable soldering iron that will do that, and a good tip that goes on the soldering iron. That's very important. So I'm hoping to share all of this with you and hope it will be of interest. Very good example of how we need to trim the castings up is trying to fit the wheels on the axles. You can see that one does fit, but at this end, just pull him off, there's no way to get that axle in without first trimming up the flashing that is on the sides. Now this is a lead product, so I will be certainly washing my hands quite often, because as we all now know, lead is not that great for you if it gets into your blood flow. Unbelievable, they used to put lead powder on their faces at a certain point in history. There we go, the wheel now fits. Hopefully that's a good example. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up all the castings, remove like that bit there in the middle, and make sure everything fits, and then get it into the ultrasonic bath for a clean up. So I've removed all the little bits of flash and moulding sprues and things, and now going to put everything into the ultrasonic bath for a good clean up. So when doing this, there are some very fine little bits that you've got to watch don't go through the holes in the basket. We'll set that underway, and whilst that does, I'll hoover up the area where the bits and pieces have been cut off. So we're just coming towards the end of the cleaning cycle. Not too much that has come off, but you can see the water has got a much more cloudy look to it now, and I'll be taking all these bits out in a moment and putting them on this to dry. Let's have a close look at some of the components. Up the top here we've got the coal sacks and the sack for the chap to carry. That's the front and back of the wagon. Can you guess what that might be? These appear to be the sides of the wagon. If you just scroll down. Up here we've got weighing scales, a little weight, and some folded unused sacks. I did wonder what they were. These are part of the mounting blocks for the under the chassis, the wheels. I've left the hub fixings still onto the sprue because I can see them getting lost. We've got the turnable bit so they can corner, and that goes on top of there like that. And obviously the axles, and that's the bit that goes to the horse, so it should be up there. So those are all the components. So it's now going to be a case of starting to assemble. Now I've got my car's red flux, which is a white metal flux. turn the soldering iron right down. You have to clean the areas you're going to solder. Now I'm going to use this fiberglass cleaning pencil. Not my favourite thing to use because the fibres are horrible if they get into your skin and things, but you just need to just touch the area you're going to solder and it will polish it up. You could use small bits of old Pico track rubber. If you cut them up to the size you need, make little wedge shapes with them and that, you could use that to burnish the areas you're going to clean. I can't find my old one that I don't use anymore because I've moved to the Gauge Master one. Anyway, let's see how we get on with the next step. So dry assembling the components before you put them onto the chassis are a good idea. I'm just going to hold this down here as I've applied a bit of flux. I've cleaned the contact places where we're going to solder. I'm going to try and do it in an area which can't be seen, so it's the back of the assembly. And this is your last chance to position everything as you're going to want it. So have the soldering iron ready, and I'm just going to tin it with a bit of low melt point solder. Did you see it go there? It sort of goes shiny when it's fixed. So I'm going to just do the other ends. Smallest amount of solder required really, and it's unusual because you load the iron first, whereas electrical soldering you tend to take the solder to the joint. But this is going very nicely, I must admit. Just a little bit on there again. Just hold it. I'm hoping that you're seeing this okay. Did you see it? And then it's nice and shiny. That's because the solder has been sucked into the joint and you now have solid piecelet. That's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so here we go. We're actually putting it onto the chassis now, and you can see that the location slots fit against it, so it is a nice firm fit. According to the instructions, now that's a point in case I've just felt a little bit of that fibre stuff go into my finger. I do hate it, but I'm going to see if I can find that Pico rubber. Hi everyone, right, I've got rid of the fibre cleaner because it hurt, and you'll all recognise this. This is my old Pico track rubber. So the first thing we'll do is cut him in half. A lot of fun for you watching my back of my hand, do apologise. It's very hard as usual to keep focus. So there we have the cleanish track rubber inside. So there's a way to use these old track rubbers. And then I'm going to cut a series of wedges and shapes for using to burnish up the metal that we're going to polish. There we go. Let's now try this on the metalwork. Okay, I've brought you in really close because I'd like to show you the actual effect of what happens with the solder. So I'm just putting the flux on in the area of the joint. And I hope that you'll see the satisfying moment that it goes all shiny because it's run into the joint. So I'm just loading with the first little bit of solder, and we'll go for a middle one here. Let's see what we can do. Right, a little bit difficult because it moved. Let's try and get your finger there. Hopefully the light's still good for you. You hear it fizzle, that's the flux. There we go. You can see how it's gone. Now it's fixed there, and we'll just do a bit at the top here. Here the flux fizz, and there you go. You see it's gone there nicely. Not quite as neat as I'd like it, but we are underneath, not so important. And I'm just going to redo this bit again. There we go. That's a really good solid joint. So I will do the other side in a moment. I'll do that off camera, but you can see there we are. Not the most neatest joint, but very solid. So I've finished. I've mounted the Coleman on one of the clear plastic bases, and I used the packing for that. And the cart and horse is done and soldered up. It went much better than I thought. I finished off with a fine tip on the soldering iron. That one. Let's just get that in focus for you. I found that was quite good to go along and fill in. So let's see if we can show you at the back there. You see the seam. It's the only place that it can be. You can't do it from underneath that one. And same for the horse underneath. So there we are. I'm quite pleased with that. All of it will now need to go into the ultrasonic bath again for a clean up, because the flux needs to be got rid of, and then it's painting time. To save time, I just took some photos for the other kits. Virtually the same procedure each time. However, this kit was a challenge to say the least. Very delicate, especially the axle that was way too thin really and bent in the wind. It was now time to use grey primer paint on all the kits. Hi everybody, welcome back. Well, as you can see, we're now at an intermediate stage where everything has been assembled and given a coat of grey primer. For my first go at white metal kits and soldering, it was good, it was fun. This one was easiest. This one was a complete pig, and that one was quite complex. And I've still got to make up the harnesses because the horses aren't actually attached to the piece at all. So I'll be using offcuts of the plastic boxes, similarly to how I do my figures. Put a little bit underneath to give them strength, because they're quite delicate despite being soldered up. Some of the parts didn't fit. There were slots cut for things to fit into, and they weren't the right size at all, and I had to open them up with a reamer and things. I don't know if that's just normal, but anyway, so far so good. Next job is painting and then mounting, and you'll see these soon in some of my videos, I'm fairly sure. So to finish the video off, here are the almost finished articles. I've still got to add the chains to the horses there because they work as a team. The Hanson cab is done, as is the coal merchant's truck. I decided, because these are actually still quite vulnerable, even though they're made of white metal, particularly the Hanson cab, I've mounted them onto the cut-out plastic packing that comes with them. It's clear, and when you place it down, and it's something I've used with figures before, you see the Coleman there that comes with it, you don't really notice it, but it does strengthen the whole thing up, particularly these guys, because the horses aren't attached to the cart other than via the chains. So that's it really. Hope it's been of interest. My first go at soldering white metal kits and building white metal kits. Thanks very much for watching. These will certainly improve my pre-grouping backgrounds. See you in the next video. Cheers.